Hey, what's going on everyone? It is the Wednesday before the last open announcement of 2018, and we're gonna be talking about that overhead walking lunge with a dumbbell or kettlebell, or possibly a double one. I'm probably not gonna show the double one just because my left arm doesn't go overhead quite as well from dislocating the shoulder, but the same technique kind of goes into it. It's just left to right difference, making sure you actually have thoracic extension, and we can get that arm all the way up overhead. So if this pops up in the open workout, I'm gonna love it if it's single arm. If it's double arm, I'm gonna be in trouble because it's very hard for me to get into the right position. So just a couple of things to show you. When it comes to the dumbbell overhead walking lunge, one arm or two arms, one thing we wanna watch out for is your lower back. So if I have this dumbbell up overhead and I take a step, since it's gonna be for distance, most of the time people are gonna try and overextend and get this big, long reach. The problem is my hips are getting pulled forward, so that lights up my lower back, right? Your psoas comes in, connects to your lower back, and your lats connect to your lower back too. And sometimes your lats are the limiter for overhead. So what I suggest doing, instead of that big, giant step, especially if you're someone where your lower back blows up, or if you haven't recovered from 18.4, all those deadlifts, is to kind of shorten that stride a little bit, make sure this knee stacks over that ankle, hip, knee, all stacked up with the shoulder and the back side, and up. Now what I really hope happens is instead of dumbbells, because it's actually easier for me, is that we actually use a kettlebell. And the kettlebell is different because it actively pulls that arm back so it's a little bit more balanced. So this ends up pulling on people's lats a lot more. The dumbbell seems to light up the front of the shoulder a little bit more for people. Because that weight's behind me, it's easier to keep that weight balanced overhead without having to have our shoulder work too much. So hope it's kettlebells. Please, Dave Castro, be nice, but it might end up being that dumbbell. So now, if you look at me, my left arm pops up overhead, or my right arm rather, no problem. My left arm doesn't quite get there. From the side, you can see it's really tough. Now, what most people would do is they would really stretch out their overhead position. They would try to use a band, something like that. I'm not saying that's a bad thing, but that might not be the problem. So if you're someone where the front of your shoulder gets painful, it gets hot, you have that anterior shoulder pain, I would think about looking at your posture first and think about what your thoracic spine is doing. So we can do a quick little test on it. I'm gonna go on the ground, hand behind the head, I'm gonna tuck all the way in, get a stretch, and then rotate up. And the goal is to eventually be able to get your elbow pointing right at the ceiling. Now we call these thoracic rotation extensions, TREs. They do help with you getting prepped and learning a new motor recruitment pattern, but we kind of juice them up a little bit to increase that range of motion. Because for some of us, it's just that we've never been there, so we don't know how to teach our body or tell our body to get there. So we can use a band. I'm gonna put it around my back, almost like I'm about to do a banded push-up. Get set up, and the same thing. Instead of the hand behind the head, I keep my arm straight, and that band is going to help pull me into a new range of motion a little bit. This should not be painful. Reach for the ceiling. You might get a crack in your back. I would rotate 10 per side, so about 20 total. And you can even look and retest your overhead position afterwards, because if we're able to clear up that posture, get that thoracic spine to be able to extend a little bit, we have a lot more room on our shoulder to come up overhead, because if we're rounded forward, we're going to run into the roof of the shoulder. Now, if this is tough for you or you don't have a band to do it, you can actually just take like a PVC pipe, a couch pillow, something to support underneath your leg, so that way we can do this side-lying kind of sweep. So here I am, knees on that roller. That's going to kind of keep our hips a little bit more neutral. Palms together, I can kind of relax my head. I'm going to reach forward and try and keep my elbow locked, fingertips on the ground as I come all the way around and come back. And what that's going to help us do is, again, get that rotation and extension in our upper back to hopefully clear up that overhead position. I would try 10 per side. Try it slow at first. You don't have to force a range of motion. Let's retest some light overhead walking lunges. See if that helps with that upper back thoracic extension, so that way we can get these kettlebell or double dumbbell overhead lunges next week for the open. I'd love to hear how it went for you. Try it out, see if you get any cracking. Does it actually help your overhead position? If it does, fantastic. If it doesn't, we might have to work in another area. All right, comment below, share. Talk to you guys soon.